So hi everybody, this is Mr. Roche. We're looking at Java and we're trying to get our games working really well and move into computer moving. And we noticed that there was this problem today where this is a one computer move generator versus a common ordinary person. And when Barney here hits a move, it doesn't show up until the computer takes a move. And it has to do with um, the way repaint works in a computer system. And the way and what's going on is we were talking about this in class, is that in the game board we call up this thing, right? We call up the paint component in this, okay? And every time you call a repaint, it also calls a paint component. However, like all these repaints here, what happens is though that these just go to like the basically you're managing this through like your graphics card on your screen, right? So the Java virtual machine has to go to the operating system and get this over to your your graphics like pipeline basically. And what happens is the pipeline is kind of working on a certain time frame, and your computer's sort of working on a different time frame. And so what happens is when you call these repaints, they just get kind of piled over, like they just are sort of messages to the system to go and do the paints. And the computer, actually, the operating system can kind of like take the most recent one and fire that out, okay? And also these repaints just get kind of piled up for a break in your code. And I think what happens is when we put the computer move generator on, it takes a while for the computer move generator to trigger, so or finish up. And so once it figures up, you get a repaint, but that actually happens all the way after the move has been totally taken. So what happens is like normally like our repaints would trigger at the end of an event like a mouse click. And what happens is when you mouse click, the like the mouse click plays through all the way to like the next move. And I think that's sort of what's going on here. So I got this, and I got like Betty this time. And so when Betty moves, what happens is the computer move goes all the way through and then shows up, okay? And we've got this thing taking these kind of random moves, and that's what's sort of happening, okay? So we want to kind of stop this or get better performance, right? And what one thing I like from before, I know that there's this command that exists. I don't know, and I think it's a funny command, but what we can do is like I'll show you it. The command comes from this, okay, and we are a JPanel. Okay, so it comes from like JPanel or JPanel's components is where it really comes from. So let me go back to where I put this. I don't screw this whole thing up. Where am I here? All right, we got a lot of code here. I probably didn't miss it. I'm here. I'll find it. Hang on. Okay, don't put anything any place. But there's this thing. When we get this, you can call like a repaint, right? Which we've been doing. Okay. And there's this other one called, I found it, paint immediately. Okay. And this is great. Okay, and let's look at this. Okay, so what happens is when you do a paint immediately, basically what it's going to do is it's going to paint in the component, right? Okay, and that's good. It's going to do all of its descendants. It's going to call it like our paint component. And it's rarely necessary to call this method. In most cases, it's sufficient to call repaint, which defers the actual painting and can collapse redundant requests into a single paint call, right? But this method is useful when one needs to update the display while the current event is being dispatched, and that's what's happening to us, okay? And that seems sort of okay. So basically, what we have to send it though is we have to send it the region to be painted, like starting from the bounding box coordinate, and then if you just give it the width and the height, it'll work. Okay, so we want to paint immediately. Okay, so the question is kind of where. Okay, and let me see. I think you want to do this in click check. I think. Okay. So maybe we'll try a couple of versions of this and see if this is going to help. And we were kind of dropping repaints all over the place, and I don't know if we want to really do that. Okay, but what I want to do is I think I want to call like here instead of a repaint, right? I think I want to go like this, paint immediately. And luckily, there's two different versions of this. One, we can give it a rectangle, but I want to build a rectangle. So I can just go this, paint immediately. And I'm going to send it, I don't spell it right or something. Hold on. This dot, paint immediately. I want this one. Okay. And the X is actually the top, it's the leftmost corner of the screen, right? And then we're gonna give it, I think we call it B width here. I'll change that to B width and B height. Okay, and there it is. Okay, wow. Okay, so this is extreme painting, but I think we can do it. And let's see if it helps us. Okay, so we'll run this here for a sec. Okay. Okay, where's our game here? Oh, sorry, hang on. Here, I'm just gonna close this down for a sec. Yeah. I don't know which version of the game we're running. Okay, so I'm gonna run this. I want to show up. There it is. Okay, so the computer's the first mover, and I don't know. We need a good name here, like Lulu. Lulu. Okay, so Lily takes a move, and look what happens. She shows up, and then the other person shows up. Okay, the computer shows up. So this sort of handles our problem for now. Okay, let me try it with the other computer mover. And let's try it like in all of our cases here. Let's run the computer again. Okay, so this is like computer versus computer. Here we go. So that seems fine, right? Game's going on. I'm running it really slowly. I can run it like faster. Okay, so that seems fine. Yeah, I'm running it really fast. So we're running it really slow. Let's make this like 200 and run it. We'll see what happens now. There we go. Okay, so it's like doing its thing. Right, this one doesn't have the red highlighting. We can get that on there. Okay. And it's exciting. It's good. It'd be curious to know how many moves it takes to get a win out of this. This looks pretty good. There you go. Okay, so good old lowercase c1 with 5 in a row. Okay, hope that's true. Oh, it's here. There you go. Okay, so that's great. And then we're gonna try one more version of this. Okay, and like I don't know, for effect, let's make this like 800, and we'll go. We'll go like Abe, Lincoln versus the computer. Okay, and then it's Abe's turn here. That's okay. So let me see. And another thing we have to do, this is kind of like, let me see if that works. That's right. Okay, so Abe's got to move out here. But see, notice that there's a delay. That's good. And Abe can move here. And you can move here. These guys are moving randomly. So it's a random mover against Abe, but that looks okay. Okay, so that's good. And let's try to get that to work. But that was an easy fix by just going into not the game runner, whoopee. By going into game board and in click check, in check click, I'm doing this. So this is the, this is the cool. So this stops the weight on the movement. That's basically what it's doing. So that's great. I think you can actually probably get rid of this repaint too. There you go. But it does the updating and stuff like that. So that seems pretty good for that. And let's get that to happen.